Okay, so chapter 13, working with macros. So we kind of did some of this in the end of intermediate where we were playing around with some macros. We recorded macros. We did some things like that at the end of, intermediate. So learning objectives. After studying this chapter, you'll be able to change the macro security settings, create macros to automate tasks, run macros, create macro buttons to run macros quickly. So introducing macros. A macro is a recorded set of mouse and keyboard actions that can be played back. It records a repetitive series of tasks that can be completed with a mouse click or keyboard shortcut. So usually the first thing you have to do when it comes to macros is changing the macro security. Most computers and most IT departments disable macros because that's how some viruses are brought into the computer. So macros can contain viruses, so they are added security features associated with them. There are 4 options for macro security. You can disable all macros without notification, disable all macros with notification, disable all macros except digitally signed macros. So a digitally signed macro is if you go out and you download it from like Microsoft or something like that, they will digitally sign those macros that you're using. Or you can enable all macros, which is not recommended. The default and recommended option is disabling all macros with notification. It is not recommended that you choose to enable all macros option due to potentially unsafe macros. So, getting into that, we're going to go ahead and open up Excel. So just start Excel. We're going to open a blank workbook. So you should just have a blank workbook that you should have open up. Okay. Once you have your blank workbook open, we're going to go to the File menu. We're going to go all the way down to Options. Options are all the way at the bottom, all the way down. You should get this pop up. We're going to go down to Trust Center, once again, all the way at the bottom. And then we're going to click on Trust Center Settings. We're going to choose the macro settings. So once you're in the macro settings, and if necessary, choose Disable VBA macros with notification. Should already be set, but if not, that's where you would actually change it if you needed to on another computer. If for whatever reason macros weren't working, or if you wanted to check the security. Now we're going to choose the message bar on the left. And we're going to verify that the show the message bar option is checked, which is up here. So show the message bar. Click OK. And then click OK again. Yes. Now you can go ahead and close Excel. Browse to your thumb drive. And we're going to open up E13D1 macro test. Yep, so that is the message bar. Security warning, macros have been disabled. So that's just telling you that this spreadsheet is, for whatever reason, trying to do a macro. If this was something that you didn't know what it was and you didn't trust it, you wouldn't enable it. Since we know what this is, we could go ahead and tell it to enable content. And now it says, do you want to enable this? We're going to go ahead and click yes. Okay. If you do see this, go ahead and click yes. After that, we're going to do a file save as. Browse and make sure you're on your thumb drive. And we're going to do E13-D1 macro. And as you could tell, all your other Excel files are not listed there. The reason being, this is not a standard Excel workbook. This is a macro-enabled workbook. So it will not show all your other Excel files, and this will look a little bit different when you save it on your thumb drive. And then go ahead and hit save. Okay. Next, we're going to click the sort by leader button at the top of the worksheet. So right here where it says sort by leader, we're clicking on that. And as you could tell, it did a sort for you without you having to go and do all the different sorts. After that, go ahead and save the file and close it out. So as you can tell, having a macro can be fast, especially if you're doing something a lot of times in that same exact worksheet. You know, having these macros will make your life a little bit easier if you're trying to apply different sorts, doing different things. So recording macros. Creating a macro is as simple as clicking a button and completing a series of actions you wish to include in the macro. It's like using a video camera. Basically, You give the macro a name. You say where you want it to store it. If you want to store it inside the workbook, you can give it a description. And then once you hit start recording, like we did in the previous one, it will go ahead and start recording those different steps for your macro. So recording the macro steps, most actions performed are recorded in the macro. So anything you do, mouse clicks, choosing anything from the ribbon, selecting options in dialog boxes, using arrow keys to navigate the worksheet, or typing text. I think that was part of our final from intermediate, where you had to create a macro to have it go back and edit or type in text for you. So storing and sharing macros. By default, a recorded macro is saved only for the current workbook. You can, however, assign it to the personal macro workbook, which makes it available to all open workbooks. And then, of course, what we just did, saving a workbook containing macros. If the workbook has a macro, you want to choose Excel macro enabled workbook. From the drop down, it should be selected by default as a type of file to avoid losing the macros you have created. If you attempt to save it as a normal Excel workbook, you will get a warning message saying that you're not saving these macros. All right. Diving back into this. Back on your thumb drive, we're going to open up E13D2 cells. I'm going to start off by doing a file save as. Go to browse. Make sure you're on your thumb drive. And this is going to be E13D2 sales report. Everyone good? Okay. Yes. Well, no, we haven't done anything yet, so we're just doing a save as. Okay. From there, we're going to go to view. And I know it says on the book, it says click the record macro status on the bar in the bottom left corner of Excel. I never use that. I like to go to view because here you can actually see what macros you already have, or you can record a macro. So, okay. So we're going to go to view. We're going to go to macros. We're going to click on record macro. For the name, we're going to type in sort by location. And we're going to click OK. So now you should be in recording mode. Anything you do from here will be recorded. So if you go back to view and you go to macros, it should tell you stop recording. So ensure cell A5 is highlighted. So you can click on A5. From there, we're going to go to home. Under the editing submenu, we're going to go to sort and filter. We're going to do custom sort. And from here, and I am on page 326, number 5. And we're going to add in each one of these sorts. So sort by, first is going to be location. Cell values A to Z. We're going to add another level by position. Cell values A to Z. And then one more add level of first name. Cell values A to Z. And then click OK. Go back to view, macros, and stop recording. Now we're going to go to save. So file, save. You're going to get this pop-up here. And this is when we talked about saying that we're saving this as a regular workbook instead of, and we have basically a VB macro already enabled. So we're going to click no or go back. And now we want to change the save as type to the Excel macro enabled workbook and then hit save. Okay. So running and assigning macros. Running macros is easy and can be accomplished by issuing the command from the macro dialog box. You could use a shortcut key. You could click a custom button on a worksheet or clicking a custom button on the quick access toolbar. So there's multiple ways that you're able to run these shortcuts. I mean, to me, it's usually easier if you have a button, especially if you're using it all the time. You're able just to go back and click that button each and every time, and it will run that macro for you. So getting into that, we're going to do a file save as once again. Browse, make sure you're on your thumb drive. And this is going to be E13D3 sales report. Yes. Mm-hmm. So now we're going to select cell C5. Go to Home. Under the submenu Editing, we're going to go to Sort and Filter, and we're going to do A to Z. So that should change your sorting. Now, for whatever reason, if we didn't like that sort, we could go to View, we could go to Macros, and we click on View Macros, and we could tell it to run or sort by location, and that will go ahead and resort it for you using the macro that we created. Yes, hit run. So now let's make a shortcut key under macros, view macros. We should have the sort by location. We're going to click on options. And here we're able to give it a shortcut key to run. So we could go ahead and pick the letter D. Just D. Yes. Capital D. I don't know if you can see mine, capital D up there. That's creating a shortcut key to run your macro. Yes. Once you're done with that, go ahead and hit OK. Now we're going to select cell G5, Golf 5. Oh, sorry, we got to close out the box. Yes. We're going to select G5. We're going to go back to Home. Under Editing, we're going to tell it to do a sort and filter. And we're going to do smallest to largest. So that's going to redo your sort. So now if you press Control-Shift-D on your keyboard, so hold down Control, hold down Shift, and press the letter D, it's going to run your macro once again. So last but not least is we're going to create another macro with a button. So we're going to go back to the view. Yep. And now, as you can see, since we already have an Excel-enabled workbook, your record macro is now down here. So it's an Excel-enabled workbook or macro-enabled workbook, so you get that record button. Well, you can either do that, or like I said, I like actually going to the view. That's where I'm just used to going and makes my life easier. So we're gonna do record macro. For this one, we're gonna do sales by position. We're gonna click OK. And once again, we're in recording mode again. So we're gonna go back to home. We're gonna go under editing. Well, actually, let's start off and make sure that you're currently on sales A5. So you wanna make sure you're on cell A5. And then we're gonna do home, editing, sort and filter. We're gonna do a custom sort once again. And now we're on page 328. And we're number 14. We're going to delete out the sorts. So I usually just go delete level, get back to a clean slate. And then I will go add level. First one is position. Cell values A to Z. The next one, so we're going to do add level. And this will be sales. Cell values, smallest to largest. We're going to hit OK. Back to view. And then for the macros, we're going to stop recording. So now we shouldn't be recording anymore. Now we're going to go to insert on the ribbon. We're going to go to illustrations. We're going to go to shapes. And we're going to do a rectangle rounded corners. So under rectangles, we're going to rounded corners. Now you should have a little 4-prong cursor. And in cell J3 to K4, something like that. Sorry, my eyes aren't that good. I believe I'm okay in the area. And then we're with the shape still selected, we're going to type in sort by location. Okay. We're going to do one more underneath that. So we're going to go back to insert. We're going to go back to our shapes, illustrations, shapes, rounded corner or rounded rectangle. And this one is going to be in cells J6 to K7. So something like that. And we're going to type in sort by cells. So you should have these two boxes or two rectangles on your spreadsheet now. From there, we're going to right click on sort by location. And it says, see it in here. I think it's going to be under link. No. Oh, sorry. Assign macro. Sorry. Being blind. You're going to click on assign macro. And we're going to click on sort by location. And hit OK. And then we're going to do the same thing for sort by cells. Right click on sort by cells. Assign macro. And we're going to assign cells by position. And hit OK. So now, you click off of that anywhere in the workbook. Yes. Now you could click on sort by location, and you can click on sort by cells, and it will make those changes for you. All right, after that, go in and save and close your workbook.